Hickok 45 here, and guess what I finally have my hands on after many requests from some of you. I have the Taurus PT111 G2, or is it PT111? PT111? Anyway, it's PT111 G2, okay? I just thought I'd irritate you a little bit. It is a firearm, the Millennium G2, that has been requested, I would almost say, more than any other firearm in the last several months, okay? And to the point where finally, I lay it down here, let's take a look at it. Finally, I went looking for one, and believe it or not, I do hear all the requests. As I say, I can't answer everybody on Facebook or on YouTube. I answer a lot of you, as you know, but I take all the recommendations, the requests, and put them into the itty bitty small computer up there between my ears and try to remember when I start seeing the same ones over and over. And wow, this thing has been requested. In fact, it's just for years, the Taurus, I think the earlier versions of this firearm. But so I went on the prowl for one, and I didn't care. You know, I went looking for one. I was going to buy one weekend, I remember, and I just couldn't find one. I requested one from Buds here a week or so ago. So we've got to do this thing for sure, and just see what it's about. I remember going into a gun shop, I was in Guns and Leather over in Greenbrier a few weeks ago, and I said, do y'all have, because I'm really not that knowledgeable about all the Taurus firearms, and I actually asked the clerks there, I said, do you have a PT111? I guess it's a PT111, that's how you say it, right? That's how I'm going to say it. 111 makes more sense. And the G2, I just want to see what one looks like. What is this gun that everybody keeps requesting? And so they didn't have one. Since Taurus lowered the prices recently on, I think it was across the board, wasn't it? On all their pistols or maybe all their firearms. These things have been getting scarfed up like crazy. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they sold for around $375 or something, under $400 before, and they lowered them almost $100 or something. I know at Buds this is, I think, at $260. So they didn't just reduce the firearms, the pistols, by $20 or anything. It was by a significant amount, and because of that, partly because of that, we'll also assume they make some good guns and people like them. But at those price points, for $260. If you have a gun like this that holds 12 rounds of 9mm, and I'm not sure what the 40 caliber version of it holds, probably, if this holds 12, it probably holds, what, 10 or something. And if it works, you know, that's a good buy, isn't it? So, speaking of that, I've been shooting it for several days off and on. It has not malfunctioned. It has not malfunctioned. And I know the earlier versions of some of these guns had really a spotty reputation. I've not raced out to do a lot of Taurus, pistols and handguns of any kind necessarily. They get mixed reviews, they really do. But apparently, from what I've been hearing the last year or so, that they have done a bit of a turnaround. And you can share your experience with your Taurus, especially in recent years, but what you have been seeing with this gun or with others, okay? But we've gotten so many requests that I just thought we're going to do this, you know. So we're here for you, partly. We're here for us too, but we're here for you. All right, let's put around the chamber, put my ears on, and just take a couple of shots. I didn't get a mag pouch, but that's okay. We'll make do. How many of you go to the range and always put on a mag pouch? I bet a lot of you never do. Well, let's give it the 2-liter test first. All right, it'll puncture a 2-liter. See if it'll put a cowboy out of his misery. Not bad. Not bad. All right, put the cowboy down. Let's see about a pot. And another 2-liter. Another one. Oh, scared him. I don't know. I feel a little guilty. Shooting a man when he's down, but not that guilty. Oh boy. So emptied him on the last one there. Okay, so put that up there. I've got another magazine. All right. Oh, another pot. Oh, tried to attack me. Tried to. Not bad. I bet I have 1 or 2 rounds left. Let's put one on the gong, or try to. I think it missed. All right, so it's empty. All right, so if you have one of these, let us know what you think about it. There are some really nice features to this gun. The one so far over the last week, I guess, is that it has not malfunctioned. That may not be the case today, but it has not malfunctioned on me. And I've shot it, cleaned it, shot it, cleaned it, shot it, cleaned it. And I mean, I know maybe some people like to test a firearm, they just never clean it. I just don't ever do that with my guns or any guns. I rarely ever shoot them 400 or 500 times just to see if they'll work and operate when they're really dirty. I just don't do that because I'm never going to carry one when it's that dirty. But well, take a look at it here. A couple things. It has adjustable rear sight, fixed front sights. You got your 3 dots. It's got your loaded chamber indicator, and let's see. It's got a safety. Well, I hate even call it a safety, but it's a lock. The little gizmo you get, it'll lock it up. When you turn that clockwise, then the gun's locked up. You can't do anything with it. Move the slide, pull the trigger, or anything. Okay. And notice the grips. I'll compliment the grips. Whatever that material is, or whatever they've done to that, it feels really good. That is a masterful job. John and I were just talking about it before the video. That kind of stuff would put Talon grips out of business if they were using enough of that, and it stayed like that. And that's often the case. You can start out a new gun and it feels good. It's got right like a little bit of sandpaper or something, but maybe in 6 months it's smoothed out a little bit and you don't have that same feel. But that is good. They did a good job on that. That better than really anybody I know that I can think of, Springfield or Colt or Glock or anybody who tries to give you a little texture on your grip. Quite often it's just different shape of the plastic, little ripples and stuff, and it just doesn't do that much. That's good, really, in my opinion. But that is good. It just needs a little more of it, but that is good. You would like that. It just fits like a glove. Actually, those new Springfields with the new reconfiguration, that's right, the Springfield pistol. I'd forgotten about that. They've improved the, what's it called? The grip zone. There you go. How could I forget that? The grip zone. Actually, those are similar. I've forgotten about that. So they've done a good job on that too. It's got a safety, thumb safety. Of course, you don't have to use it, but it has that. Okay. And it is, pretty typical in other ways. It comes apart in the same way. I don't know if you have to pull the trigger, take it apart or not. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but, very, very common look there. We've seen guns that look like that, haven't we? Striker fired, firing pin safety, all that. I was reading some stuff, and I do a lot of reading on these various guns we're going to do. There were some people really complaining about some of the early, a couple of people anyway, on some of the early Tauruses, and maybe not passing a drop test or something, but apparently Taurus has fixed all that if there were problems. I don't know if those were real problems or in somebody's head, and they had some other issue there. You just never know what motivates some people and whether they have an agenda or not. And so, that's just the way it is. I don't have an agenda really, other than trying to get you addicted to shooting if you're not already, and to help further that if you are. Okay, the gun, give you an idea, I've got the Glock 26 out here for a reason, to show you a size comparison. They're about the same thickness, and I've put the calibers on them already and everything. So they're about the same length, about the same thickness. They're really a lot of ways the same gun, except the length of the grip. Okay, and the Taurus holds 12 rounds. The Glock holds 10. So you can see the difference there in length. It's almost a little too long for 12. It's the same length as the Glock 19. I didn't bring it out, just to tell you, the grip is the same length as the Glock 19 with that, okay? And the slide is the same length as the Glock 26, because there's one right there, sitting beside it. Now, another amazing little fact I discovered, I was weighing them, and now I know sometimes the weights come out differently from what's published. I weigh them on a sharper image scale or something I've used a couple of different ones of those, seem to do really well. And these two firearms weigh exactly the same thing for me. They're both 21 and 5/8 ounces. Okay, 21 5/8 ounces, both of them were. So pretty interesting. All right, so you really do have kind of a Glock 26 size gun if you're not, if you're familiar with it. You know, very, very common, 27, Glock 27. Most people are familiar with that if they're not familiar with these. So, and that's what I thought when I first picked it up and opened the box. And yeah, it's about like a Glock 26. You know, the grip seems a little bit longer. I was right. Okay. Feels good. It's kind of got that melt, you know, the contours, the rounded back. You don't have that blocky slide that the Glock has, and it also has the contours up front like the small Glocks do. I wish all Glocks had, instead of being so squared off and blocky. And it just feels good in the hand. I mean, it feels better than that Glock. Okay. Now that's all the positives, isn't it? You've heard me brag on it. I don't say I'm trashing the gun, because there is one big negative. I'll load the magazines and talk about it here. It's and it may not be a negative for you. It's the now for some of you the name Taurus will be a negative perhaps, and for some of you it won't. But the biggest negative for me, this firearm, is the trigger. It's not that it's all that horrible in terms of the break. I don't know, it's a relatively heavy trigger. It's not a bad striker fire trigger though. It's where it breaks. And if you have large hands, that's exaggerated. I think somebody with even normal sized hands, normal sized brain and everything is not going to like the trigger as much as they're going to like the Glock 26 trigger. Now I may be wrong. But you know, again, it's not that I'm biased. It's a limitation I have because of my hand sizes. But these are both unloaded. It is night and day. The guns feel similar, you know, same size and everything in the grip, except this one feels a little better. And when I go to break that trigger, it breaks way back here, way back here. You see that? Click right against the back of the frame or front of the grip. All right, and when you pull the Glock 26, for example, and I just happen to have it added for size comparison, but a lot of other guns would be the same. So in this one, that looks like it breaks pretty far back, but the distance is partially where it breaks in the trigger guard, but it's also the overall distance there, right? So this one, when I pull it up and it breaks, it feels great. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel like I'm, you know, trying to get it to break way back there. You know what I'm talking about if you're a shooter, okay? And that would be actually a good measurement on firearms. They ought to include that with every firearm. We should start doing that. Put the calipers on, like from here to the trigger break. That's a very important measurement for me. And of course, I can figure it out as soon as I, you know, snap the trigger on any firearm, whether it's desirable or not. But anyway, that's a big difference. And it's to the point where I shot the gun a little bit and I was messing with it and I did, wow, that's crazy. It trigger break way back here. And I was in the bar and cleaning it and messing with it like this, and I was going to snap it, take the slide off. Oh, how come I didn't notice it has a magazine disconnect? You know, how come I'm just now noticing that? So I got the magazine, empty magazine, you know, and I put it in there. I didn't get it to snap. What? There's still something wrong with the gun. It breaks so far back, I thought there was something wrong with it, okay? So, and again, maybe it's not that it breaks so far back. If you look at where the trigger is in the trigger guard on these two firearms, it's not maybe all that different, but again, it's that distance. You feel like you're, you know, there's certain things your hand, as flexible as they are, dirty hands, you just, you got to get way back there to break it, and that's what it feels like with me on this, okay? Now, if you got normal hands, that may not be much of an issue, and I'll tell you, if that's not an issue for you, if that doesn't bother you, I'll show you why I have to shoot it. I basically, you talk about, I've always confessed that I don't shoot with a pad on my finger. I end up shooting with this crease right here, joint, whatever. But in this gun, I just about have to pull the trigger. The trigger is almost right there with me. How's that for good technique? It really is. So you won't see me hitting too much today and pressing anybody. I mean, yeah, I can shoot it okay. I could get used to it, but I don't want to have to get used to it. What was I going to say? I was going to say, yeah, I was interrupting myself there. If that trigger is not a problem for you, though, and you have normal size hands, or it breaks okay for you, this gun is pretty nice. hey, this gun is pretty nice. All that bashing of the trigger notwithstanding, this thing ain't bad, okay? I'm pleasantly surprised because all other aspects of it are fine. It's pretty impressive. And even with that really awkward trigger for me, you know, I can hit well enough. It'd be a great little defensive gun. I could learn to deal with that. Okay, like the cowboy there. He's threatening me again. The gong is threatening me again. Maybe I can hit him this time. Got him. Okay, so I can adjust to it, but it's awkward for me, and it even hurts my finger a little bit. But aside from that, and if it keeps cranking, I'll shoot just a little bit more. If it just keeps cranking as it has without any sort of hang-ups, I've been shooting 124 grain. You wonder why I've got all this ammo like here. Yeah, John and I are going to set a record. We're going to see if we can do a 24-hour video to shoot all this ammo. I keep it separate. This is 124 grain. This is 115 grain ammo. So I've been shooting mostly 115 grain, to tell you the truth. And so that's why I thought, well, I'll just shoot mostly 124 grain in the video. We'll make sure it all works. And this is Federal American Eagle. And but anyway, like I say, it's been functioning just fine. We've not had any problem with it, and not even an attempt to hang up. There's not been anything like that. And with a semi-automatic that you're thinking about carrying or for defense in any capacity, is there anything more important than that? That's why I make a big deal out of it. Whether something has malfunctioned, whether it's hung up at all, and it cranks right on along with both weights of bullets here, 124 and 115. Some firearms don't like 115 grain ammo as well, particularly like really cheap stuff, some bulk ammo, it just depends. And a lot of the 115 grain, it is on the lower edge of the weight power factor, I guess. So if a firearm needs warmer ammo, it's not you know, so crazy to think you might have trouble occasionally with 115 grain, but we've not had that. Probably will right now, right? But the gun is the pistol is a good-looking pistol. You know, it's I mean, it's Glock-like in a lot of ways, or M&P-like, or Springfield-like, whatever you want to say. You know, the typical polymer striker-fired handgun. But for $260, you know, wow, that at least as I speak to you today, you know, it's that's, you know, you're talking about. You're getting down into there. I guess I shouldn't mention a lot of other guns. I mean, a lot of people cannot afford an expensive gun at all, and you know they're really stretching the budget to get a high point or something like that. You're talking $260. You're getting a very well, I don't know what the word for it would be, but a gun that is much like any of the other more expensive guns that people have been buying for decades, like the Glock 26 or 27s, or the small M&P compacts, and the Springfield XDS, all those firearms that people put a lot of trust in and pay a lot more money for. What I was trying to say, it's not a clunker. There are some really cheap guns that are kind of clunkers. They work, but they're kind of clunkers. They're like someone took a brick and maybe carved out a gun, you know, from it. This is a very, very nice firearm, and the contour of it and everything. So we'll shoot a couple more mags. The only real negative for me is that trigger. All right. I didn't even put a holster on, did I? What is wrong with me? There's another cowboy. He gets by. There we go. Pretty nice. Keeps on cranking. Last shot on the red square. All right, so the Taurus Millennium, the P111, P111, P111 G2. Okay, you decide what to call it. G2 is pretty simple, isn't it? But so there it is, and I've been shooting it for a week at least, I guess a week. And I bring it out just every now and then, shoot some magazines through it, because I know Taurus has had a very spotty reputation in the past, and they might still with certain models, I don't know. And so many requests. So I wanted to shoot it an ample amount and get a good feel for it, and try to give you at least my impressions of it, and because a lot of you have been asking what my impressions are, and you just seen them. You just saw my impressions. It's fine, at least to this point, except for the trigger, the distance and the configuration of it. All right. So the Taurus PT111 G2, life is good.
Hi, I'm Zeke with the Sonoran Desert Institute, and here at SDI we're extremely proud to be sponsors of the Hickok 45 channel. You may be asking yourself, well, what is SDI? SDI is an affordable, fully accredited distance learning education program. We have an emphasis in gunsmithing and firearms technology. If you decide to become a gunsmith, you'll need to learn proper gunsmithing techniques, and while some people will use an apprenticeship program to gain these techniques, a formal education will ensure an organized, more comprehensive learning environment. But when you choose a gunsmithing school, it's still kind of difficult. So it's very important that you choose a gunsmithing school that meet the following criteria. First, look for a nationally or regionally accredited program. And whether distance learning online or through a brick and mortar ground program, a gunsmithing program should always have a hands-on element. And finally, make sure you look for a school with high student satisfaction. Find reviews online, check out its Facebook or other social media, or get on the same social media sites, find some alumni, and ask to speak with them about their experience. And while we're not at SDI today, I do have some of the firearms I've learned to work on and build myself through the SDI program. So let's go take a look at them. Okay, maybe not. We'll just get seriously. Can I not get a chair that fits me? I'm a big guy, dude. So I guess back to what we were originally talking about. Above all else, find the school that's right for you. It's not always going to be the distance education programs or the brick and mortar ground schools that are for everybody. Just make sure you do your research on multiple options before you make that decision. But if you want more information on our gunsmithing school, just go to www.sdi.edu or call us at 1-800-336-8939.